So Bruce, I was surprised seeing you here in Düsseldorf, being part of the Settler 7 project. Tell me about it.
Well, I found myself out of work in March and started thinking about what I wanted to do part-time. I was looking for some work, and people at Goodbye had contacted me years ago about getting involved working with them, and I couldn't do it then, but I was free now. So I started talking to them about the possibility of helping them with the next game. We worked it out, so I've been traveling to Germany every month since March, working part-time, 10 to 12 days a month, helping them with Settler 7.
Of course, what happened to Ensemble Studios is not a nice thing. It was a real big company. It was selling millions of copies. Microsoft still closed it down. Do you still have hard feelings about that? Do you see the necessity in terms of economical?
I think it was a mistake. They said we weren't strategic anymore. They didn't think that the games we were making were going to be for the future, and they wanted to invest the money that took the Runner Studio and stuff that made more sense for the company. I disagreed. I think we could have done other games. We tried to do other games. They canceled them, and then they told so we had a great team of people, really competent, skilled people who've been there for many, many years. I think they underestimate how easy it is to take, but we'll see in the long term. In the short term, it probably work out great for them. They save money, and in the long term, I don't know. I think that talent pool is gone.
What do you think about the genre strategy games? You just said you could have made other games, but isn't there still a big market for games like the H series, or have those people disappeared?
I don't think they disappeared. I think we just need to give them good games, and they'll be there. I mean, I don't think everybody's waiting to see StarCraft 2. Do you think that game is going to be a failure? I mean, it's a strategy game, and it's an excellent piece. I'm sure they're excellent. I'm sure they'll sell extremely well. So there's a classic example of a good strategy game that's going to do well. I think if you do make good games, there's an audience for strategy games. We learned that when we started making the Age games. It was like we were the only ones making historical RTS at the time, and it would turn to be a huge market. I don't think that whole market's going away.
So tell me about your involvement with Settler 7. What do you do?
Well, I'm sort of an advisor, help the design team. The design was essentially done when I showed up. They already designed the game, but it's an iterative process. We play it every day, we change it, and make adjustments. And I bring a different perspective. Everybody here is, most people here are German. There's some other European nationalities, but I come from the U.S. and we maybe a little different there, and a different studio, a different way of doing things. So I've made some suggestions about how the process could go. I've made some suggestions about how to make the game a little easier to get into. Because I thought with Settler 6, I felt that the game was, I spent too much time waiting for the game to do things, and I should be engaged all the time. I thought that the Settler series in general is very hard and complex, and to give it to everybody right in their face to start with, I think is daunting. It's a little hard to get new people to try it. So I thought we could broaden the art market if we could make the game a little easier to get into and introduce it in a different way. And so I'm trying to make suggestions in that direction.
So the basic design is done. So, for example, the victory point idea does not come from you?
No, that was there.
But you're going into details and for example, that what you just said sounds like that you are giving people more to do at an earlier stage?
Well, maybe
less to do in complexity.
Yeah, less to do in complexity. That was, I felt the game was really complicated and very hard to get started for a new player. And I thought those things both stood in the way of getting new audiences, attracting new players. So is there things we can do that are still true to the Settlers brand, that still are Settlers, but they could make it a little easier for newcomers, especially. I mean, we would like to sell this game to not only people here in Germany, but to all over the world.
Exactly.
And we need to get it may have to change the game a little bit to broaden the market, but still hold on to the essential game. And I think they've done an excellent job of making a rich, deep game here that should be fun for a lot of people. I think it's important to be different in the marketplace. So if you think of StarCraft as being really heavily combat-oriented, like the Age of Empires series is kind of a mixture between economy and combat, and ours is more skewed toward the economy. There is combat, but it's a lesser involvement. And I think that there's room in the marketplace for different kinds of games. So we're trying to be a little different, but still be attractive to strategy game.
German board games are very famous in the US. German computer games are not. Why is that?
I don't have a good answer to that, because our tastes are different in computer games. Now, the board games are very popular, but do they sell, how much do they sell? I mean, do they sell anywhere approaching what a good computer game does?
Certainly not.
So there is a good group of people in the US and Europe and in Asia who play these detailed board games, but they're really a tiny, small marketplace. But when you do a computer game, you have a chance to reach out to a huge audience. And I think by borrowing some board game elements, some of the better ideas from board games, we've made a little bit of a hybrid game here, and I think it has a chance to be, to be really attractive to an awful lot of people.
The multiplayer aspect seems to be very important for the game because of the constant running for the victory points crown. But do you think, I know, or we both know that Age of Empires is still being played in some leagues after all these years, Age of Empires 3 is. Do you really think that strategy gamers, economic strategy gamers, are so much interested in multiplayer at all?
Not to the degree that they are in the StarCraft game or the Age games, no. But I think there's an opportunity there. It's a fun game. I think that it's not as intense and competitive as those games are, but I think there's still an opportunity there to play with your friends and have a good time. Get on the line and play with somebody you know, and I think there's an opportunity there to make this game accessible and reach out to more people with this multiplayer aspect to it. I don't think it'll be as intensely competitive with millions of people playing it like you'd expect to see soon after StarCraft 2 is released, or the way the Koreans play StarCraft game, and the way they televise and broadcast and stuff like that. That's not going to happen. But I think there's a rich, deep gameplay here that'd be fun.
What length of one game do we see here in terms of multiplayer?
I think they're a little longer than the other games, so it'd probably be 45 minutes to an hour.
But that's still manageable. You don't need the whole weekend to just one game.
Even a board game can take much longer than that. So here's a pretty fun competitive computer game you can play in an hour or less.
So is the single most important feature you like about Settlers 7?
Most new feature or just feature?
New feature.
What new feature?
From 67.
I would say that the victory points are the most interesting thing, possibly. I mean, I'm torn between victory points in a way they have these 3 different paths to victory. So you can either concentrate on technology or trade or combat. That's cool because it gives you different ways to play.
What are your plans for the future? Can you imagine starting a developer again, or what do you think?
I don't think I'm going to start another company. I mean, I never really, I was part of startups. I never started it myself. I was invited to be part of Ensemble Studios by Tony Goodman. I was employee number 4, and I don't think I'll be doing that again. But I have a client in South Africa who's starting up something new, and I'm helping them. And I'm not. I don't think I'm going to get considered founder or anything like that. But I'm looking for work with interesting people on games that interest me. I don't think I'm ready to retire. So, I'd like to keep active in some way.
How old are you now?
I'm 61.
So the real question, of course, was: is there a chance of ever seeing a new Age of game?
That's not my decision. Microsoft owns that brand, so I'd be shocked if they let it go without making more games. So I would anticipate that there'll be more Age games.
Would you work with them to do such a game?
If they, I mean, I would consider it. I don't know if I wouldn't say yes or no at this point. I was disappointed that they closed their studio. I'm disappointed that that's their thinking. But the people who did that might not be there for long. I mean, we went through 3 or 4 years of management at Microsoft, and all we worked for 14 years. So the people who made that decision might go, and the next guy comes in and says, "That's a mistake, and I really like to get this team back together," or put these. So you never know. Yeah. So I don't. It's business. I understand it's business, and I think it was a mistake. I think we look upon it as an opportunity in a sense too. Okay, I thought I knew what I was doing for the rest of my life, and then I said I'm not. And so now I'm meeting new people. I didn't expect I'd be in Germany for 10 days every month, but it's kind of fun. I'm meeting a lot of interesting and fun people here, like the guys I work with, people I work with. So I think I'm trying to make this an opportunity rather than be bitter about it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.